Hi, fellow Muppet fans, and welcome back to Moving Right Along, a Muppet movie podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we watch the Muppet Christmas Carol 2 minutes at a time and talk about it a lot. I'm your host, Ryan Rowe.
I'm your other host, Anthony Strand.
And today we have a return guest who we always enjoy talking to. A guest, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Tansy, Rayner Roberts.
Thank you for joining us once again.
Oh, thank you for having me. You know, I love talking about Muppets, and I love watching Muppets. And my kids are I'm not going to say they're too old for Muppets, because you're never quite too old for Muppets, but they're not always available for Muppet watching. So
okay. Nice it's good to have some kindred spirits to
friends.
To talk
I just
about
think of you guys as like being Muppets, so that's
that's what
Honored to
like.
hear
See,
it.
and I know
honor.
that you would take that
We'll
as a
take it,
compliment.
Yeah. Yes.
There are some people
Absolutely.
who might not take that as a compliment, but I know that you guys would.
Right.
For sure.
There's also that thing where like Muppet is like sort of a slang. I don't know. I get Google alerts a lot where politicians are calling each other Muppets in the UK, but anyway.
Yeah, it's actually quite a sweet insult, especially if you do it in a British accent. You know how if you swear in a British accent, it just sounds less sweary and more fun.
Yeah.
So yeah,
More distinguished. So we are here today to talk about minutes 17 and 18 of the Muppet Christmas Carol, in which Scrooge begrudgingly allows his employees the day off, and the song One More Sleep begins. So we pick up with Bob Cratchit, Kermit as Bob Cratchit, nervously pleading his case to Scrooge to close the office for Christmas Day. He points out that no other businesses will be open, so there will be no one to do business with. And he makes a great point that they would be just wasting coal all day. So,
well, if we can jump back a second,
yeah,
we actually start with the rats throwing Kermit under the bus.
That's true. Yes, that's
like
the punchline of the last thing that we saw last week.
Yeah, the first thing we hear is the rats saying, that was all the frog's idea, or whatever, which I think is so funny.
Yeah, I have this later in my notes, but the rats just enhance this whole exchange so much just by their reactions to everything.
They do. They kind of provide the audience.
Yeah,
aren't they? They're the audience identification rats.
Right.
They're the audience identification, and they're also kind of Bob Cratchit's internal monologue.
Yeah.
Right? Like
but
when
the fact that there's all the cheering and the worried noises and all that, it always reminds me of, those scenes where they always pull back in a Muppets movie to show the Muppets watching the movie themselves and like heckling themselves. So they're like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. But also it's like Bob Cratchit cannot, when we'll get there in a second, but when Scrooge says, poor excuse for picking a man's pocket, the rats all go, "Aww."
Right.
Which you say is us, but it's also like, I think that's what Bob is feeling.
That is right.
But he can't say it.
But he's too polite. He would never say it out loud. So he has all these imaginary friends who are rats who will like encourage him, like the angel and the devil on the shoulder. So they're both. They're all rats.
So is your theory that only Bob Cratchit works for Scrooge and the rats are imaginary?
I mean, you can always consider that possibility. It makes it a much sadder movie, though. Like if he's just alone with his imaginary rats, then that is actually quite tragic. Whereas the rats make even his stress and his poverty-stricken circumstance quite fun. Like it lightens the quite darkness of all of it. So they're kind of there, I think, to make the whole thing less miserable.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think they add a lot of much needed comedy to these scenes. But I also want to know, is this the first Christmas that Bob Cratchit and the rats have worked for Scrooge? Because they must have been over this before. If not, like Christmas happens every year. Do they just have this exact same conversation every year? And every year Scrooge is like, no, I don't think I want to close for Christmas.
Or every year he does let them have the day off, but he always makes them feel bad about it.
Right.
That's the thing that really hits, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's basically like, well, yes, you can have the day off if you insist, but you are basically thieves. Like, there's some expert, quite dark emotional manipulation going on there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would buy that Scrooge just makes Bob Cratchit do the same routine every year.
Yeah, and he always acts surprised and acts as if they never had this conversation.
Yeah, just
it's
to
like
make him
a
miserable.
classic abusive kind of toxic pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as we were alluding to, Scrooge says it's a poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every December the 25th, but as I seem to be the only person around here who knows that, take the day off. And the rats, like we say, they're reacting out loud to every beat of this. It's like, oh, yay! They cheer.
Yeah.
Scrooge yells at them to stop.
Michael Caine looking angry at Muppets.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how can you be angry at Muppet Rats? But he's just so furious at them, and he just doesn't get them, and it immediately makes him the villain.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. It's like that thing of, if a character kicks a dog in a movie, then you know that person is a villain and irredeemable.
Right.
And he's like that. Like, he's just so angry. It feels like he's angry. And I know that, like, Michael Caine himself is probably a lovely guy. He was happy to be there. But it feels like he's angry to be in a Muppet movie. Like, Scrooge is just outraged by the sheer Muppetiness of the world in which he lives.
He didn't sign up for this.
No.
He wants to be in some other version
it,
of Dickensian in London, where there are fewer wisecracking rats. Yeah, this is something, we've talked about it a little bit, but this comes up a lot when people who worked on the movie talk about the movie, how Michael Caine took this so seriously. There are interviews where Brian Henson talks about the concept of Jim Henson's Muppets versus Charles Dickens' Scrooge, where Michael Caine is playing it totally straight as just like this really mean, cruel Scrooge character. There's a quote from the Frogs, Pigs, and Humbug featurette on the DVD where Brian Henson says, "One of the great things he did in the film was he decided to not ever really play the comedy. He was going to play as if you guys..." So this is Brian Henson addressing Gonzo and Rizzo in this featurette. He says, he was going to play it as if you guys were the Royal Shakespeare Company. Yeah. Which is a really good quote. I do feel like this has been somewhat overstated over the years, where like every year around Christmas you'll see posts on social media where it's like, did you know that Michael Caine said that he would refuse to do the Muppet Christmas Carol unless he could act like a Shakespeare actor? It's like, well,
it's so lovely though.
I mean, what he said, but
it's something that works really well in a lot of other contexts. Thinking of things like Star Wars, for instance, where they would get in like all these very British actors to play it very straight and sort of be villainous. But it is an interesting thing. It's an interesting choice to have made. And it is, I know I don't want to like spoil things or by looking ahead, but it's very different to the choice that Tim Curry made as a similar tentpole character in the, what's probably the biggest comparable film, which is Treasure Island. He's also the tentpole guest star, but he's very much like, the character is friends with Muppets, which makes the whole thing, but also there's a sense of being in on the joke, whereas the fact that Michael Caine's character appears not to be in on the joke makes him just so interesting to watch.
Yeah. Tim Curry plays it much hammier, really.
Yeah. And he's in on it, and his mates, half the Muppets are his crew, and it's a very different dynamic. Yeah. But it's I guess there's something with all the Muppet guests, like all the human guests over the years in the Muppet Show as well, like that a lot of them made different choices, and a lot of them are just there like, oh, I'm being surrounded by Muppets, this is funny. But every now and then you had the ones that really took it seriously. When they took it seriously, it was just so electric to watch. And so much more interesting.
Right. Carol Burnett, John Cleese.
The comedian, people who are comedians and actors on the Muppet Show tend to be really good at just playing along. And then there are some, like some of the people who are primarily musicians who will, they look like they're having fun, but they're not as sort of embedded in the Muppet reality.
Yeah. And the thing about being a Shakespearean actor doing it, I think that's relevant as well, because it's a stage thing. Like theatre actors have a different ability to put themselves in a role than people who are primarily film actors. We think of Michael Caine as being a film actor because he was in so many films. Yeah. But he has that theatre background, and it shows, they can put themselves, immerse themselves, they can act even when there's no scenery, all that sort of thing. And I think that's often what you need when ultimately on stage or on the sound stage, you're going to have a bunch of the thing that we forget. I'm sure you guys are very aware of it because you look at all the behind the scenes, but there's all these people in black sitting around holding Muppets.
Right.
And you've got to not see them as an actor. And I think some actors just wouldn't be able to cope with that.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. I can't think of any examples. Like we've read so many interviews with Muppet performers and whatnot, but I can't think of any specific examples of actors who may have had a hard time looking at the puppets and not the puppeteers.
But it's a lot.
I'm sure there's been
how many times they do things with kid actors. Like with child actors, that must be incredibly hard not to just.
There are definitely a lot of scenes on Sesame Street, though, where a Muppet will be doing a one-on-one with a kid, and you'll see the kid looking straight down at the puppeteer. There are a bunch of those, which is adorable when it happens, when it's a kid.
Absolutely.
In those cases, it almost seems
less adorable if it was Michael Caine.
Right. Then they would have to fire him probably. But in some of those, it looks like the kid is kind of trying to figure it out. Like, wait a minute, Grover is talking to me, but there's also a guy down there with the mustache who's talking at the same time. What's going on here? Right. But that's fun.
But I was gonna say the actors who can't do it, I think, just don't get cast.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's true. Although it's interesting with the really recent Muppet movies where they just have tons and tons of celebrity cameos.
Yeah.
And in those cases, you kind of wonder how many of them it's like they would have had more than 30 seconds if maybe they were playing up to it better, and which are the,
Right, yeah. James McAvoy shows up just to deliver a package or whatever.
Yeah.
See, I totally forgot that he was, that's the kind of thing when we were doing that Oscar winners in Muppet Movies quiz in a previous episode. Those last two movies have so many cameos. I just do not even remember who was in them.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And a lot of them are quite forgettable.
Yes.
Like you don't remember it. Whereas there are some from the classic Muppet movies you still remember. Like you have that really strong visceral memory of this 30 seconds that they did on a Muppet movie because they had great presence. So, yeah.
Right. Whereas, do either of you remember what Stanley Tucci does in Muppets Most Wanted?
I do not
Well,
remember.
Stanley Tucci is the Gulag guard who shoots at Kermit.
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like,
no,
he doesn't do anything.
Here's the thing, though. Stanley Tucci is one of a handful of character actors who, when my mom sees him on screen, she will just call out his name. When he pops up in anything, my mom goes, Stanley Tucci. So...
I love
That's why I remember that.
You were sat in the theater with your mom and she yelled Stanley Tucci in the movie.
Yeah, let me think. When did I see that for the first time? I'm sure I have watched it with her at some point, and she did that. Yeah.
Yeah. Same scene. Your mom yelled out, "Chloe Grace Moritz." That was interesting.
Don't know. She might know. She might have known who that was at the time.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Michael Caine is great in this, and the next thing that he does is to yell to his employees to come in early the next morning to make up for taking Christmas Day off.
Yeah.
This is only tangentially related, but I have a coming into work on a holiday story. And that is when I first started working 9-to-5 jobs, I did not know that it's traditional for everyone to get New Year's Day off. I had previously been working like at hotels in the events departments where like you could go a few weeks with not very much happening at work, especially around the holidays. So I was working at an office job and nobody explicitly said anything to me about not coming into work on January 1st. So that January 1st, I woke up early in my apartment in Brooklyn at the time, and I took a subway to another subway into Manhattan and went to this office building and took the elevator up to the office, and it was completely empty because, of course, everybody was at home because it was New Year's Day and it was a holiday. So I had to go all the way back home and then go back to sleep. But I guess it could have been worse if Ebenezer Scrooge had been my boss.
That's
if Ebenezer
true.
Scrooge had been your boss.
For the electricity or the coal you used.
Right.
For the candle you lit to see that the building is empty.
That's what I was going to say. He would still dock you half a crown for wasting his time.
He would have charged me something. So then we're back to Gonzo and Rizzo outside. Gonzo says, with their employer gone at last, Bob Cratchit and the bookkeepers immediately began that most pleasant of activities, the celebration of Christmas. Rizzo, meanwhile, is once again eating something. I couldn't quite make out what this was. Is this
something really loud? I was actually going to ask if that was the context was provided before or after this minute.
It might be a pickle.
Because he's just eating something so loudly.
Yes.
And say, looking at this street scene, because it's a couple of years since I've watched the film, and I haven't perhaps looked really closely. It put me in mind of, this is where I come to Doctor Who connections. I'm not sure if you know much about, if you're a fan of Doctor Who.
Yes.
yes, they did the
Yes,
Christmas, their version of A Christmas Carol quite a few years ago now, which was pretty much, it wasn't Scrooge, but it was Scrooge, and it was a planet that was very clearly Dickensian England, only with fish in the street.
Right.
But I didn't realize until I saw this particular shot how much that very memorable set from that episode feels like it wasn't actually maybe not just based on Dickensian London, but specifically based on the Muppet movie.
Oh, interesting.
There's something about that scene when they walk out and Gonzo is standing there. I'm just like, I've seen those doorways before. Did they just straight up build a set that would make people think about the Muppet movie version of Christmas Carol?
Yeah, it is a very striking, when you're looking at it closely like we are for this podcast, the set design is very striking because they have all these forced perspective angles, which you really only notice if you're scrutinizing it, and it's just sort of kind of a theatrical version of reality. Like if you really look at it, it doesn't really look like a city, but it fits the material really well.
I mean, it does have, on the one hand, it does very much feel like London in Dickensian time, but do I just think that because I've seen this movie a lot?
Yeah.
Particularly all the curved doorways. And the arches.
Exactly.
And that, again, it made me think of the Doctor Who set, which has lots of roundness. And
I've seen that episode once. I should go back and look at that.
When you finish this, go back and watch it then, because I think you'll find it very interesting, because it is really specifically in conversation with A Christmas Carol, obviously. But I didn't realize how much I think it is in conversation with this specific adaptation, which for many has become the most significant, top of the list.
Sure, yes.
Adaptation. Yeah.
I wonder if Stephen Moffat, has he ever talked about Muppets anywhere? Like,
I don't know, but
his last name kind of sounds like Muppet.
I mean, let's face it, he is a creator who tends to take things he likes to really milk them thoroughly.
And especially in those Christmas specials, right? I mean, like you say that. And we should say, maybe for listeners who want to check it out, that episode of Doctor Who is called A Christmas Carol. Simply,
it is, and the Christmas episodes of Doctor Who are always designed to be kind of one-off specials that you can watch without having seen anything else of the show.
Right.
They were designed to be like Doctor Who, but bigger and louder, because they're assuming you're watching it on Christmas Day. They screen in the UK in the afternoon. They assume that most people are like overfed, possibly a bit drunk. So they tend to be designed to be Doctor Who you can just walk in on. So they're actually quite good for people who haven't seen the show before as a little taste. They get they're very chaotic, the Christmas specials. I love them dearly. I love a Christmas special.
I was going to say, sometimes they are Alien meets Inception with Nick Frost as Santa Claus. Like,
sure, but isn't he the best Santa Claus? Like,
it's the
who would
greatest.
have
I
thought
adore
he
that
would be
episode.
such a platonically amazing Santa Claus? Like, he just, that is so good. But they are weird. I'm not saying it's not weird. It's Doctor Who. But Muppets are I think a lot of people like Doctor Who also like the Muppets, because there is a level of opt-in weirdness that requires to enjoy
that's
both.
accurate, yeah.
So I'm not surprised there's a massive overlap in the fandoms.
Well, they got David Tennant and Peter Davison to play the Doctor at the live shows at the O2 a few years ago.
Yeah.
Pigs in Space meets the Doctor.
I mean, that's just epic.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and like the crowd goes nuts.
Absolutely.
I think it was the first night it was Tennant, and the second night it was Davison doing the same script.
Right.
And it is always interesting to me that though it is technically an American production in a lot of ways, the Muppets has this strong grounded history in British culture from so much being filmed there, from a lot of their crew being British, and there's a level of humor that feels very British, I think, in a lot of ways.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, there's a lot of crossover. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great snowy street. I enjoy the set very much. I enjoy all the normal people. I say normal. That sounds so judgmental. The non-Muppet
You just mean the humans, the human actors,
the humans.
The human extras.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Walking around in their lovely Victorian gowns and things. Like, that's nice to see.
Yeah, it looks great. This is actually, I think, just occurring to me for the first time, but it's sort of like a pop-up book version of Dickensian London.
Yeah, very much. Which makes sense. It's aimed at kids.
Yeah.
But it does feel like a lot of the elements of it feel like an illustrated book, especially with things like Gonzo talking to the audience.
Yes.
And it almost has and now the page is turning kind of feel about it.
Yeah, which is kind of what's happening right now as Scrooge leaves and is transitioning into.
Yeah, I was looking to
song.
see if there were any background Muppets, and apart from the rats, or like Rizzo and stuff, there weren't any in this particular shot.
Yeah,
like,
there's not. We
humans.
don't get much of a glimpse of the outside, except for I guess that one shot where Scrooge is leaving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, only human extras at this point.
Yeah, all the other Muppets are at home.
Yeah, where it's warm.
Right. Good for them. It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the rats celebrate Scrooge's absence, Scrooge's departure. Kermit says, "Gentlemen, let's close up for Christmas." And then here's the song, "One More Sleep."
I guess say in that moment, just before as the song is starting up, I noticed that Kermit was standing very close to a candle, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of naked flame to be close to these Muppets. And then I wanted to ask the question, how flameproof are Muppets? And then Kermit blew out a freaking candle.
He took care of it
which
for
is
you.
One of those things, when you're like, oh yeah, I can hold this in my head. Muppets, because, we always fall into the, oh yeah, Muppets are people. And then every then you remember, oh, hang on, Muppets are constructions. He blew out a candle.
Yeah.
Like, that was just such a lovely casual moment. But it's like, it almost had he's riding a bike. Oh, wait, I have to think about this.
Exactly,
That was just a lovely moment.
I think there are some people who watch a Muppet movie and just don't even think about it when something like that happens. Or like on the Muppet Show when Kermit would drink out of a glass with a straw.
And then you're like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Well, when he did that on the Muppet Show, he looks at the camera and says, think about that.
That's right. Yeah, he's calling people's attention to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
We were watching a sequence, I think it was a Sesame Street. Oh, I think we ended up as a family watching some old Sesame Street stuff a little while ago. And there was a sequence with Ernie drinking from glasses.
Yeah.
And sort of watching it. And it's one of those things, you can watch it 20 times and not think about it.
Right.
And then the one time you start thinking about it, you're like, hang on. Like, I've never noticed Kermit blowing a candle out before now.
It's just Bob Cratchit blowing out a candle.
Because the first time you're just like, of course, that's just, you blow in a candle, the candle
Kermit.
goes out.
He does things. He's very competent.
Yeah.
Right. In the Oh My Disney video that I've mentioned previously, Brian Henson says that people always ask him how they did that effect, but he thinks it was a relatively simple thing where they just had like a tube behind Kermit's head out of the frame, and somebody was just like activating the air to blast out of the tube. So that's all. Yeah,
it's the thing. It's probably not that. It's really just the timing, and there's some beautiful timing in this sequence as they build at the beginning of the song. I also noticed, because my my son is a media student, and when things like when people do stuff in one shot, he tends to notice and call it out, and it's something we pay more attention to now. The shot where the rats are all closing books one after another, and I was watching, I think that was just such a really beautiful shot, because and I'm just like, it looked really effortless, and I was just like, oh, they might have had to rehearse that quite a lot to get the right balance, the book one after the other, because of course they can't see what the others are doing a lot of the time.
And am I remembering
that was a really nice?
Am I remembering right that shot continues then with Kermit carrying a stack of books?
Yeah.
And then
so it was a really nice kind of one shot.
Yeah. So it's
book
so precisely choreographed. Like close the book and close the book and close the book and Kermit. So I'm sure that took a lot of rehearsal.
There's some singing too. Like, it's very impressive.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. These guys are really good at their jobs.
Oh, this song though. It started off and I'm just like, oh, this song. It's such an earworm. Particularly with like far more syllables in the word Christmas than it really needs, and it just gets stuck in your head.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh yeah, here we go.
One more sleep till Christmas, which, funnily enough, is not the last time that will happen in this movie. Because later we'll hear that it feels like Christmas.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
So can we talk about Steve Whitmire's performance here a little bit? Because this is really the first time he's really gotten to do much of anything as Kermit the Frog.
It's his first song, as far as I know.
It's his first song, but even in this movie, he just kind of like says hi to Fred so far. You know, I mean, he hasn't done that much.
Yeah, now the spotlight is on Kermit.
Right. I mean, he's, this scene, I guess he starts talking.
Can I say, I didn't even think about who was performing Kermit in this, or the fact that it's like the first big time that it's not Jim Henson. Didn't think about it once.
Right, because he's great. It's such a terrific performance, I think.
But it's something I know with the most recent Kermits, we have had issues with that. Like my kids refused to watch the most recent Muppet show that was on Disney. It looked like it was fun, but the Kermit was just not quite there. And they were just like, "Oh my god, who can't do a Kermit the Frog?" I don't know. It was enough of a disconnect that they just couldn't make. But this is seamless. Like it feels like it.
And I mean, I do think part of that is that we've had 30 years to get used to. You know, I think I think if Twitter had existed in 1992, there would have been a lot more Kermit Sounds Funny.
There were definitely
stuff,
people on the Muppet News group and the Prodigy Muppet fan bulletin board. Back in those days, complaining about Kermit's new voice.
But it is really interesting because to me he just sounds like Kermit. But then I'm like, actually, have I watched this movie more than I have watched any other performance of Kermit? I think a lot of people have, that might not be true. I'm not sure.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I also think it helps that this is a very sincere song, somewhat in the manner of Rainbow Connection. You know, it's just like Kermit being plaintive, which is a good mode for a new Kermit also in a movie. New. I don't know.
It's the fact that it's not him trying to do the Rainbow Connection. It's not something, and I think it is a really interesting choice that Kermit is not himself. He's not playing himself in this film.
Yeah,
and that of course was a big thing of what Brian Henson did in the 90s, was this idea of the Muppets being the cast for a classic story as opposed to them playing themselves. Like they feel like themselves, but it's maybe makes it a little easier transition to not having Jim Henson there anymore.
Yeah, it creates a different set of expectations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and
this Kermit is such a great actor because he's really thrown himself into the Bob Cratchit
Kermit
part.
is great at playing Bob Cratchit.
His voice is even slightly different. It's just
right. I do think though that on a somewhat similar note, the best performance we've seen from Matt Vogel as Kermit so far, in my opinion, is when he played the Haunted Mansion host in Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, he was very good there.
I think he seems looser and funnier. And
I actually quite enjoyed that. My kids hated it so much.
They
just ripped that movie apart. I was there enjoying it, but I'm not going to watch it with them again. No.
Right. Oh.
Yeah.
I liked it. I enjoyed. I mean, we'll get there. We'll cover it on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
After Muppets Most Wanted. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Muppets Now, some of my favorite parts of that were actually the Kermit parts, but I guess everyone has their own take.
Well, the most recent, I think, Muppet stuff that my kids really loved was the one which is just the Muppets, like the one that was like The Office.
Yeah,
the TV series.
Sitcom,
like that, we all really, really enjoyed. It was so sad it didn't come back, and that really felt like the Muppets doing something a bit different, but also growing up a bit.
It was an interesting experiment.
Yeah, we really kind of enjoyed that. But
I'm glad to hear that. That's heartwarming.
They've got kind of judgy, so now we just watch vintage stuff. It's
okay, well that's good too.
There's so much.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with that.
Absolutely.
But One More Sleep. Yes, it's like the warm and fuzzy aspect of Kermit is what we're seeing in this movie. Like we said, he doesn't really get to be funny, but again, it fits this material, it fits this story, it fits this character of Bob Cratchit to focus on the warm and fuzzy version of Kermit.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because he's the straight man.
Yeah.
And Michael Caine is also the straight man.
And
everybody else is pure chaos. But Kermit has always kind of been almost always been the straight man. Like he's usually the long-suffering one while everybody around him is pure chaos.
Yeah.
But he's kind of still doing this. He's being stoic and strong.
Yeah, more and more so once they started making movies. Like when the Muppet movie, when they did the Muppet movie, that's like he's fully arrived as like the sort of everyman character that you root for.
But even in the show, a lot of the time, because he's always he does, he gets frustrated, but he's often the one trying to hold it all together. Yeah. So it translates really nicely to this very stoic Bob Cratchit, which is, by the way, the most interesting Bob Cratchit has ever been as a character. Let's face it.
Yeah, sure.
As characters, he's not,
I do have to give I agree with you. B, I have to assign runner-up status to David Warner in the 1984 movie. Who I don't
think I've ever seen that, but I agree. David Warner is great at everything, so it doesn't surprise me.
That's the thing. Like he I'm so used to him as villains, of course. you know,
Yeah.
all the in Time Bandits and Tron and all that stuff, Ninja Turtles 2, and he's Bob Cratchit, and he's like so sweet and lovely, and it's such a
Bob
nice
Cratchit
David
is
Warner
a thankless
performance.
role because this is a movie about a villain. It's like anyone in Wuthering Heights who isn't Heathcliff is not going to get much attention because when you have a villain that's so powerful and dynamic and kind of interesting and horrible, they kind of do take all the oxygen in the room, and the other people's job is basically to be around them and in many cases to suffer at their hands.
Yeah.
Which isn't very interesting as a part, but Kermit manages to imbue it with, like, it's a great Kermit performance that he imbues it with such just sadness and stoicism and, you know, all those things that you need Bob Cratchit to do, which is basically to be the perfectly reasonable person who's being treated terribly.
Right.
His dog gets kicked, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor buddy.
Yeah.
But
it's nice that he has all his rat friends,
imaginary
or not, who add a little light to his day.
Yeah, it works really well. The song itself, I like a lot. So the first song we heard was Scrooge, and I was like, oh, this is a really good song. This might be my favorite. And now we're hearing this song, and I'm like, oh wait, no, this is a really good song. I think this is my favorite.
Yeah.
So that might happen again later in the movie. We'll see.
Well, that's what you want in a musical. You want it to build up. You want the early songs to be good because you don't want to be like starting off going, oh, it's one of these musicals. It's got to be good, but it's also got to ramp up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this song, spoiler, this song is going to get a reprise later that is even better in my opinion.
Charming,
I love that.
Yes. Yeah, we'll get to that.
But it does. It has a Christmas classic feel about it, and that's, you know, it is something that we hear often, I guess. It's something that could be distinct from the movie. You had Muppets turning up at a Christmas concert and performing this song, you know, out of context, it would work perfectly well.
Yeah.
But really what's happening, like the rats are just so entertaining. It's you're not really worrying about the lyrics or the song that much at all. The rats are just so great. Like all their little routines for shutting down the office.
Yeah.
Where clearly they're not designed for this human-sized office.
That's true. None of the equipment that they're working with is really rat-sized.
Right. Well,
that's interesting too because it's all designed for Scrooge, and he doesn't care about their comfort.
He has a small frog and a smaller rat working for him, but it's all just human-sized stuff.
And
Scrooge could have pulled that blind down before he left, which would have made their lives so much easier.
Yes.
And it would have cost him nothing, but of course he wouldn't do it. And I'm pretty sure one of the rats dies and they all just like, they all just sound a little bit like, like it was just a little bit too sad for it to be just, he failed to do the job. I feel like he really hurt himself.
You're talking about when the rat...
You're saying that this rat gets catapulted.
Into
the
and then he's really excited and he's going to pull the blind down, but he loses and then he falls, and all the other rats just go, like they really seem. It's not just he's fallen or he's going to do it again. They seem sad. I think he's dead.
He heroically sacrificed himself to close the window.
It didn't even work because the shade just flips right back up and they have to do it again. And then that rat gets catapulted and smashes into the wall. Yeah. So they may have lost 2 rats that night.
They may have. And, you know, it's all because Scrooge...
Rats in peace.
...is so thoughtless. Yeah. It's interesting. I saw a production of A Christmas Carol done by a local community theatre. I think it was last Christmas. It might have been 2 years because honestly all the last few years have sort of smushed together. And that was really interesting because one of the things that they really did was they played on the fact that Bob Cratchit was the only employee, which is actually kind of, I think, a big part of the story. So the fact that he's not the only employee, unless these are imaginary rats, it is interesting because I'm presuming Scrooge doesn't pay the rats, or if he does, he doesn't pay them enough.
I guess I assume he pays everybody like as little
he's
as he's
surprisingly overstaffed for somebody who's supposed to be very non-generous.
Yeah, somebody said that. Was that you that said that before, Anthony?
I said that earlier.
Why does he have so many people working for him?
Yeah, and that is a direct, like, there's very different to the original story. Yeah. But of course, it's because it's funny is always the answer.
Exactly.
And presumably the rats are all horrendously underpaid. You know, it's
I think we can safely assume
that many rats maybe he can get that many rats for the same price as a person.
Right? Yeah, I don't know how
or
that works.
A small underpaid urchin or something. You know?
Yeah, no, that's like some social commentary.
Right.
Yeah.
We should also note that this scene is very reminiscent of the Rat Scat breakfast scene in Muppets Take Manhattan.
This is essentially a sequel to
Right?
that,
Yeah, the previous movie had a scene where the rats are in a human-sized environment and getting jobs done by, riding around on egg beaters like a unicycle or whatever.
Through a variety of puppet tricks.
Yeah, and it's just as great here. There's no diminishing returns in my opinion.
Not at all.
Yeah,
it's all
except
different
that,
kinds of stuff.
rats are dying.
Except for the rats who die, yes.
But it is.
Right.
I think it's I think they're doing everything with joy, and that's sort of part of the thing of like even their general philosophy, which is matched with Bob, is that thing that is an important theme throughout and will be important later, which is that the poor people or the workers, even though they have next to nothing, they have joy in their hearts, and that's the ongoing theme, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big part of
they're
the
not
story.
rich, but they find joy even in the really dull chores, even when they're a little bit life-threatening.
Yeah, and of course, as soon as their overbearing boss leaves, that's when they can actually relax and have a good time without having to worry.
Yeah, absolutely. Having fun at work. Yeah. I gotta say, there are some really nice close-up shots of the rats in action in this sequence, and it made me think about how beautifully dressed they are.
Oh, yeah.
Like the actual tailoring on the little suits and the little waistcoats and all the little details are just beautiful. I've been watching the Great British Sewing Bee, and they I just recently watched an episode where they were making costumes for children, and I'm just like, but the challenge of sewing like these little detailed, tailored outfits at that smaller scale is really interesting, and there's some lovely detail of the costumes of the era.
Yeah,
in those beautiful little outfits.
And shout out to Holly Smith and Anne Hollowood, who were the costume designers on the movie.
There you go.
So
they do a fantastic job throughout, but this is really cool. I mean, they are very well dressed considering they must be like London's most underpaid rats. Otherwise, Scrooge would not have so many of them working for him. So,
but I think Scrooge needs his staff to look professional too, right? Like I think
absolutely, he would insist upon it. He would, maybe insist that they clothe themselves at a particular tailor, and they're still paying off that debt. So
for those times when a customer comes in and then Scrooge throws him out in the snow like he did, he wants his staff
absolutely.
to look nice.
He wants, that makes sense. That tracks.
Other puppetry tricks here. There's a bunch of rats carrying a stack of books with another rat sitting on top of it. I assume that one on the top is radio controlled. We talked about the catapult. The shot of the rat jumping off the stack of books onto the catapult, that is just seamless. I assume that's a marionette, but it just looks perfect.
See, I did not think about that at all. I just saw a rat jumping.
Exactly.
So.
That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah, but like I watched it back. I watched it frame by frame. I couldn't see any strings. I don't know. Maybe it's another radio-controlled puppet. I don't know. But it's
I can't imagine they could do that kind of jump.
No, probably not in 1992. Yeah, it just looked perfect.
You guys are going to look so silly when it's all revealed that actually the Muppets were real all along, and there's no puppetry involved. It's just the world's biggest long-term entertainment fraud.
They're just all live. Yeah.
It was just a talking acrobatic rat. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes
if true, I'll be thrilled.
There's a rat taking a steam bath in the furnace. That's a cute gag.
Yeah, that was really nice. It wasn't clear to me what that was that they were pouring the water on. I was like, is it a kettle or something? So that's you said furnace?
Oh, I mean, I assumed that's, or is that, I don't have the clip in front of me right now.
Yeah, like a little sort of steam heater or something. Yeah, they're definitely there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't quite clear what that particular vintage device was.
Something that's very hot on the inside, so when they pour water in it creates steam. Yeah.
Yeah, and the rat
has
a
little towel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the rat using brooms like stilts, which is
that's
probably
like
the most impressive one to me. Unfortunately, this clip that we're watching for this episode cuts it off, but it starts at the top of the broomsticks and then tilts down, and you see the rat on the broomsticks like stilts, and then just when you think that it might just be like a puppeteer hidden under the frame just working the broomsticks with their hands, the camera tilts all the way down and you actually see the broom sweeping up dust on the floor into a dustpan. So again, I have no idea how they did it, and it's just kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was very impressive.
Yeah.
As is the work ethic of these horrendously underpaid workers who be treated terribly. Like, doing. It's great. They're doing all this, they really seem to care about their job, despite the fact that their boss is terrible.
Right.
So that's nice. Yeah. So they also know to get into trouble if he comes back in
and they aren't working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But also that goes along with Bob Cratchit, who, like, even here we kind of skipped over this. But after Scrooge gives him the day off, he says, "Thank you, Mr. Scrooge."
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's like, and we'll see this later at home when he's talking to his family too. He tries so hard to respect Mr. Scrooge. Like, he wants to be a good employee so badly.
Yeah, and I think absolutely.
He feels grateful despite everything.
And isn't it? It's his wife who expresses the frustration with it all, and he never does. He's very he's just grateful and good. Yeah. And that's also reflected in Tiny Tim, I think you recall as well. There's that sense of the virtuous. They are the virtuous poor who, they just keep doing what they're doing. They don't rise up in revolution. They just they're just grateful. This
actually feels really relevant right now with what's going on. All the discourse about people sort of demanding to be paid what they're worth, and a lot of stuff coming out about bad employers. So this actually feels more relevant than ever. Yes,
which is always a bit sad when we've always held Dickensian era to be like, it goes hand in hand with poor working conditions, with the mistreatment of like children in working conditions and all that sort of thing. It's always a bit sad when you watch something of this era and it's like, oh yeah, no, this is actually quite relevant.
Rich people are still exploiting working class people. Yeah. If this were happening now, Emily Cratchit would be starting a Reddit thread like, how do I convince my husband to quit working for Ebenezer Scrooge?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it would be all set in some kind of Amazon distribution outlet.
Yeah.
Yep. And Scrooge would be like, have them all packing boxes, and they would sing beautifully while they worked.
Right.
But they would have timed toilet breaks, and they would all sleep in little pods.
Oh man, yeah. That actually sounds worse. So that's
no, it is. It is definitely worse.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's most of what I have. I just had a couple of other things on the song itself. I like the way Kermit says, "The promise of excitement is one the night will keep." That little sort of froggy. The one the night will keep, and then the end of the next verse rhymes with that, which I had never really thought about before, because the next verse ends with "Everyone is family, the feeling's running deep." So that's a nice little trick on Paul Williams'
But
part.
also you've got the mid-line rhyme with the "How many sleeps till Christmas?" So
That's the thing.
Which I always like in a song, that little bit where rhymes are reflected but not always in the same place. Like that.
Yeah. It's one the night will keep. After all, there's one more sleep. Yeah, it's good. I like the lyric, "There's no such thing as strangers when a stranger says hello." Something that sort of I'm reminded of every holiday season is like, oh yeah, when we have something to say to each other, like happy holidays or happy new year or whatever, like it's just kind of more effortless to be nice to people. It would be pleasant if we could have that the whole year around. I guess you could just say, have a nice day, or
yes.
Yeah, everyone should just be nice to each other all the time. I guess that's the point. Not just at Christmas. That's all I have about these 2 minutes. Do either of you have any thoughts, starting with you, Tansy?
I think I've probably said all I have to say. I would think about this segment. I think it's really beautifully choreographed, and I do love a rat sequence. Like,
good. I'm glad you're here.
The rats really are one of the great additions to the. I always think of them as being a really late addition. I think it's perhaps because I probably saw this film before some of the 80s ones, but it is odd. I always think it was being late, but actually they came in pretty early, really, in the scale of Muppets to now.
Yeah.
In the overall.
it's kind of like the end of the Muppet Show a little bit, and then Manhattan really is when they explode.
When they first become characters, yeah.
And very few people, especially now, watch all Muppet stuff in the order it was produced anyway. But
right,
I do love the rats.
Yeah. Rats are great.
Especially when they're dressed in their little waistcoats.
Yeah, and I just like that it's just one of these Muppet character groups that we look for. Like there's the penguins, the chickens, the pigs, the frogs, the rats.
Yeah, and I think we have fairly high expectation of the rats, of these really intensely choreographed sequences.
Yeah, they should do another one of these.
Jokes, like often their role is to be funny when the story isn't funny, or to add humor, or add extra layers of humor when everybody else is playing it straight. And often in the background, you know, and again, I'm looking forward to Treasure Island, where they do a lot of kind of support work of like, oh, things got a bit heavy, chuck in a rat in a boat, being funny. It's nice they get like a really full-on sequence this early in the film, something that showcases their general rattiness.
I'm already thinking ahead, like which rat sequence should we have you back for Treasure Island next season?
Yeah, I become your rat expert.
Yeah. So Anthony, do you have anything else on these 2 minutes? And do you have a old curiosity shop this week?
I do. I will open up the old curiosity shop. So the first thing is,
should we have a jingle for this segment?
It's like the bell above the door. So the line Scrooge has about a poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every December the 25th is one of the most famous lines in the book. I think most people probably know that's from the book.
Yes.
The whole thing is a poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December, said Scrooge, buttoning his great coat to the chin. But I suppose you must have the whole day. Be here all the earlier next morning. The clerk promised that he would, and Scrooge walked out with a growl. So that basically is this scene. That's all it is in the book, you know?
Yeah.
Scrooge just leaves. But in the annotated Christmas Carol, Michael Patrick Hearn notes that closing a business in London on Christmas Day was left up to the discretion of the employer at the time. So there probably would have been other people for Scrooge to do business with.
Oh, okay.
Unlike what Kermit notes here. And he also notes that the same was true in the United States. Christmas didn't become a federal holiday until 1870.
Oh.
So,
yeah. I mean, I guess a lot depends on what your business is and where.
I was going to say maybe some financial institutions like this would have stayed open for him to do business with.
Right.
Yeah, but it's like you can see that the businesses more likely to stay open are probably ones where, you know, people need to purchase things. It's worth noting, of course, that the skipping ahead to later on in the story, the butcher has to be open on Christmas Day for somebody to get that turkey from the window.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it's weird to think like it would be a shock to people that banks were closed. Or what is it he does? He like lends money. He
lends. Yeah, he's a money lender. Yeah, I guess he's basically a building and loan kind of. I guess another thing in common with It's a Wonderful Life.
Tie into another Christmas story. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where you can see how certainly it's not a business that would really. So Bob is definitely seeing this as a day in which they'd sit there and nobody would come in.
Right. But yeah, so that was the only thing I had this week.
All right. So Tansy, we like to ask our guests the usual round of questions. Do you remember the first time you saw this movie? What's your history with it? How would you rank it alongside the other Muppet movies? And I'm going to throw in a new one this week. Do you watch this movie every year at Christmas time? Okay.
So many questions.
Yes.
I don't specifically remember when I first watched it. I think it's one of those that I just... What year was it released?
92.
Okay, well, I must have watched it pretty much when it first came out, because it's one of those things I don't remember watching it for the first time, but I remember not having watched it, if that makes sense.
Right.
But that means I'm like 14 when that came out, so it's not like a distant childhood memory.
But you think you saw it in the theater that year?
I don't know if I saw it in the theater, but if I did, I would have seen it within a year. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if I had.
Sure.
I definitely remember going to see Treasure Island, but I have a really specific memory of Treasure Island. I don't remember it specifically. I've always enjoyed Muppet. This particular one, I like this era generally. We've talked about it before, how I'm really fond of the idea of Muppets adapting classic works. I remember recommending the Wizard of Oz one to you guys.
Right. I was going to say, we joked about putting you on the spreadsheet already, but we do have you on the spreadsheet to be our guest for
as you should
Wizard of Oz bonus episode. So
yeah, because that is fantastic film. But no, so I like this era. I don't know. I think I've become a lot fonder of A Christmas Carol generally. The older I get, and since watching, I'm pretty sure this is the first version. I don't know if this was the first version of Christmas Carol I saw. I think it's either this or it's the Blackadder, and it's very likely that I saw the Blackadder one first. So for a long time, the two versions of Christmas Carol that I had interchangeably were Blackadder and Muppets, and I would always actually go for Blackadder over Muppets. I'd say in for the Christmas Carol specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as watching it every year, I will generally try and restrain myself to one version of Christmas Carol a year.
Okay.
For a long time, it was pretty much those two. More recently, there's the Doctor Who one has also been added, and there's a few more along the way. So I will usually watch. Yeah, it's usually one or the other. I won't watch any automatically every single year, but usually I think I did watch Muppets Last Christmas. So usually every 2 or 3 years I will watch it. I do enjoy it very much.
That's reasonable. You certainly have a lot of adaptations to choose from.
Oh, absolutely. And I've read the books a couple of times. I really, really enjoyed it, which surprised me because I actually quite loathe most Charles Dickens books.
Oh.
I studied Bleak House at uni. I found it very hard going. A Christmas Carol, I think I read for the first time in my 20s, and I found it's a perfect book. It's really short, like it's a very tight novella.
That's the thing.
That helps.
And it is so tight, like the prose is so perfect. And I've since read some of his short stories and really enjoyed them as well. I think I just can't quite come at the really giant books that go on forever. But this is there's a reason it's so popular. It's such a tight, perfect, like every sentence is just so clever and so lovely. And I think this must be how other people feel about other Charles Dickens books, and I just can't. I'm still angry about Bleak House, frankly. There was just so much of it, and I got to the end, and I didn't even know any of the answers to the questions that were raised anywhere in the book. It's just so terrible. So I love it, and I think it is fascinating. I am kind of obsessed with literary adaptations. I love watching multiple adaptations of the same thing. So, like Jane Austen, for instance, I love watching lots and lots of different versions of the same story. I find that really, really interesting, whether it's theatre, whether it's film, audio. I love watching and experiencing multiple versions. But yeah, I have always more thought of this as being a Christmas Carol more than I thought of it as being a Muppet film, which is weird, but it's not. It's not one of my favorite Muppet films, probably. Of this era, I will always probably pick Treasure Island first.
Okay.
And of the previous ones, I'd probably watch one of the 80s ones over it as well. I think maybe when I was younger, it hit me as being a little bit schmaltzy. It was a little bit too sweet.
This one.
Fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, once you watch the Blackadder Christmas special, it's hard to come back from that. But I'm very fond of it, and I will always enjoy watching it. But I think particularly because I didn't connect as much to maybe when I was younger, when I first watched it, to the human character, not Michael Caine, who's like great and everything, but I seem to remember all the sequences in the past kind of annoyed me a bit and things like that.
Oh, okay.
Not the Muppet parts, obviously.
Right,
but like
right. You're just like, all right.
Like young Scrooge, I'm just like, why do I need to do this? Why do I need to care about this character? Yeah. But I mean, watching Muppets is always entertaining, and I do like it. But as I said, it's probably not. If I was picking one randomly to watch, I probably wouldn't pick this unless it was Christmas and I hadn't watched Christmas Carol in any other format yet, and then I'm just let's watch some Muppets. But I'm trying to think. Have I answered all the questions?
I think so. I think that covered everything.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to come and talk about dead rats.
Yes, always fun to talk about dead rats. So listeners, please make sure you check out toughpigs.com on the internet and all the usual places that we tell you to check it out. Our logo is by Morgan Davy. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/toughpigs. We would really appreciate that if you like what we're doing. You can tell us what you think about these minutes or Charles Dickens or Michael Caine or whatever. By dropping by our Facebook, Twitter, or emailing us at movingrightalong@toughpigs.com. You can find me on Twitter at @MeRyanRowe and on Letterboxd at MoviesAreNeat. Anthony is on Letterboxd at ZeppoMarxist. And Tansy, remind us where people can find you and or your work on the internet.
You can find me on the Verity podcast talking about Doctor Who, or on Twitter at TansyRR.
Very good. Everyone should go seek those out. And listeners, also, if you don't mind, please give us a positive review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you can do that. And tell all your friends about the show, all the rats that you work with, tell them about the show. And join us again in approximately 7 more sleeps for another episode of Moving Right Along. See you later.
Aww. Yay!
Excellent.